learning outcomes. After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the concept of flow, identify the characteristics of flow state, learn about the current and the future, directions of research on flow, and understand the interventions to enhance flow state. The concept of flow. In the 1960s, while studying the creative process, it was struck by the fact that while working on a painting, the artist worked on it single mindedly, ignoring hunger, fatigue, and discomfort. But once the artistic creation was completed, the artist lost interest in it. Flow research and theory had their origin in a desire to understand this kind of intrinsically motivated or autotelic activity. From the perspectives of flow, a good life is one that is characterized by complex absorptions in what one does. Significant research had been conducted on intrinsic motivation by that time. It was investigated that the flow state by the interviewing chess players, rock climbers, dancers, and others who emphasized enjoyment as the main reason for pursuing an activity. Flow experiences occur when we become engaged in controllable but challenging tasks or activities that require considerable skill and which are intrinsically motivating. For flow experiences to occur, we must have a good chance of completing these tasks. There must be clear goals and immediate feedback. These tasks require full concentration, so we become deeply involved in them and forget the hassles of everyday life. Our sense of self disappears when involved in these tasks and emerges as strengthened after the task is completed. Time perception is altered during flow experiences. Reading, sailing chess, rock climbing, dancing, writing, and gang motorcycling are some of the examples of activities where flow experiences have been reported. Activities that lead to flow experiences can become an end in themselves. The phenomenological landscape involves three regions of experiences: a flow channel along which challenges and skills are matched, a region of boredom and opportunities for action relative to skills dropped off, and a region of anxiety as challenges exceeded capacities for action. The Millen Group defined flow as the balance of challenges and skills when both are above average levels for the individual.
A state of flow is characterized by intense and focused concentration on what one is doing in the present moment because tasks that lead to flow experiences involve working towards clear goals and receiving immediate feedback about movement towards these goals. A deep level of concentration on the task is essential. merging of action and awareness. Since the person's full concentration is on the task, there is a loss of awareness of the self, loss of reflective self consciousness, a sense that one can control one's actions, distortion of temporal experiences. When we are involved in flow experiences, our perception of time is distorted. Experience of the activity as intrinsically rewarding. Activities that lead to flow experiences are said to be autotelic. Autotelic comes from the Greek word self, auto, and goal, telos. Autotelic experiences are those that arise from activities which are not done for some benefit but because the activity is intrinsically rewarding in itself. Challenging activities that require skill, the task which leads to flow experiences, must demand that we use our skills almost to their limits and that the task is one that can be completed. In flow experiences, the ratio of the challenge involved in an activity and the skill required for the activity is close to 1:1. Clear goals and immediate feedback. Tasks that lead to flow experiences have clear goals and feedback about movement towards these goals is immediate. Dynamic equilibrium. In state of flow, the individual operates at full capacity, which is a state of dynamic equilibrium. It also involves establishing a balance between perceived action capacities and perceived action opportunities, optimal arousal. The conditions of flow include a sense that one is engaging challenges at a level appropriate to one's capacities, clear proximal goals, and immediate feedback about the progress that is being made. Certain cultures and types of families are conducive to flow experiences. Csikszentmihalyi and Csikszentmihalyi. All cultures have certain goals which citizens aspire for. They also specify social norms, roles, rules, and rituals in accordance with which these goals may be achieved. Cultures in which the goals, norms, roles, rules, and rituals closely match the skills of the population are more suitable for occurrence of flow experiences. Work-based flow experiences are more common in cultures that permit people to have work roles that are neither boring nor overly challenging. Flow experiences are more common in cultures where religious rituals involve dance, singing, or meditation, etc. Flow experiences are more common in cultures where skilled games against well matched competitors are widely practiced. According to Csikszentmihalyi and Csikszentmihalyi, to understand flow experiences, we need to understand it through consciousness and the self. Consciousness is made up by subjective experience. The self emerges when consciousness comes into existence and becomes aware of itself. Consciousness thus serves as a clutch between programmed instructions and adaptive behaviors. Csikszentmihalyi and Csikszentmihalyi 1988. Attention plays a crucial role in entering and staying in flow. Entering flow is determined by how attention has been focused in the past and how it is focused in the present. Intense concentration shows that attention is wholly invested in the present activity. The loss of self consciousness in flow leads to the fading of me from awareness. Staying in flow requires that attention is invested wholly on the task. Csikszentmihalyi talks about an autotelic personality. a person who tends to enjoy life or generally does things for their own sake rather than in order to achieve some later external goal. This kind of personality is distinguished by several meta skills, which include a general curiosity, an interest in life, persistence, and low self centeredness. Lafayette found that a sample of adult workers included about 40% who were most motivated in high challenge, high skill situations, and about 40% who were most motivated in low challenge, low skill situations. The first type of individuals may be called autotelic individuals. Heckner confirmed that autotelics were least happy and motivated in apathy, low challenge, low skill situations, whereas non autotelics, least motivated in high challenge, high skill situations, did not find the apathy condition aversive. Autotelic families, from an experience sampling method, study of talented adolescents, Rondon found that autotelic personality is fostered in a complex family environment which simultaneously provides support and challenge. With extrinsic motivation, those activities are undertaken which will result in pleasure or help in avoiding unpleasant events. Self-determination theory was developed by Professors Richard Ryan and Edward Deci at Rutgers University to explain conditions that foster intrinsic motivation. Deci and Ryan. They conceptualize intrinsic motivation as the inclination we have towards spontaneous interest, exploration, and mastery of new information, skills, and experiences. According to this theory, when our needs for competence, relatedness, and autonomy are satisfied, intrinsic motivation occurs, but self motivation is less likely when these needs are thwarted. Intrinsically motivated individuals show more interest, excitement, and confidence in the tasks at hand and also show enhanced performance, persistence, and creativity concerning these tasks. These individuals report higher self esteem and subjective well being. However, these benefits occur even though people with intrinsic and extrinsic motivation have the same lens of perceived competence and self efficacy, Ryan and Deci. Intrinsic motivation is weakened by punishment and by imposing goals, deadlines, and directives. Intrinsic motivation is also weakened by giving people rewards for completing interesting tasks, particularly if these rewards are perceived as controlling. Deci et al. Ryan and Desi's self-determination continuum distinctions are made between four different extrinsic motivation regulatory styles: externally regulated behavior, introjected regulation of behavior, regulation through identification, integrated regulation. Certain conditions promote the development of intrinsic motivation. Ryan and Deci. For instance, children whose needs for relatedness, competency, and autonomy are met in infancy and childhood show more intrinsic motivation. The further along the continuum of self determination we are, the greater the level of autonomy we experience in regulating our actions. Intrinsic motivation is developed for activities that are 1. Moderately challenging, 2. That we feel we can do well, and 3. That give us satisfaction. Bandura. Intrinsic motivation is mediated partially by self efficacy. We may observe that sometimes we oscillate between being intrinsically motivated and extrinsically motivated doing the same activity. Reversal theory offers a framework for understanding these apparent motivational paradoxes. Apter. It is assumed that our motivation may be characterized by our status with respect to pairs of meta-motivational states. In terms of intrinsic motivation and flow experiences, the main area of concern is the means ends domain. That is, when extrinsically motivated to do a task, we are focused on achieving a goal in a planned and serious way. This type of experience characterizes being in a telic state. In contrast, when we are intrinsically motivated, primarily focused or doing the activity in a spontaneous way with least regard for the goal of the activity, this defines the paratelic state. In the telic state, we focus on doing an activity to achieve a goal, but in a paratelic state, we carry out activities primarily for their own sake. The telic state is associated with seriousness and achievement, while the paratelic state is associated with playfulness and fun. The flow state has been studied in many domains like art and science. Csikszentmihalyi, aesthetic experience, Csikszentmihalyi and Robinson, sports, Jackson, literary writing, Perry, and other activities. Flow research was pursued through the 1980s and 1990s in the laboratories of Csikszentmihalyi and his colleagues in Italy. They employed the experience sampling method to sample everyday experience randomly. During the 1980s and 1990s, the flow concept was also studied by researchers studying optimal experience. In the 1980s, work on flow was assimilated by psychology, primarily within the humanistic tradition of Maslow and Rogers, McAdams. It was also part of the empirical literature on intrinsic motivation and interest. Flow research has emphasized the dynamic system composed of person and environment and the person environment interactions. Since the direction of the unfolding flow experience is shaped by both person and environment, there exists an emergent motivation in an open system. Cheeks and Mihai. Proximal goals arise out of the interaction. Sports, games, and other flow activities provide goal and feedback structures that make flow more likely. It is the subjective challenges and subjective skills that influence the quality of a person's experience. Consequences of flow. In many studies, flow was found to be associated with commitment and achievement during the high school years. Carly, Delefave, and Massimini, Mayers, Nakamura. A longitudinal ESM study of talented high school students showed that a relationship exists between quality of experience and persistence in an activity. Many researchers also expect time spent in flow to predict self-esteem. In a longitudinal study of students talented in mathematics, Hain, those who experienced flow in the first part of a course perform better in the second half. Mastering challenges in daily life may protect against negative outcomes. Schemid and flow may also have consequences for physical health pattern. Hence, the flow state is a self-justifying experience and is an end in itself. Evidence for deep flow has been found in activities as diverse as elite and non-elite sport. Jackson and Csikszentmihalyi, Kimlik and Harris, social activism, Colby and Damon, and aesthetic experience, Csikszentmihalyi and Robinson. Two kinds of experiences might be intrinsically rewarding. One, involving conservation of energy, relaxation, the other involving the use of skills to seize ever greater opportunities, flow. It was found that for normal American adolescents, motivation, Csikszentmihalyi and Nakamura, and happiness, Csikszentmihalyi and Ronde, were greater in low challenge, high skill situations as compared to when challenges and skills were simultaneously high. The original flow study showed that work as well as play can occasion deep flow, Csikszentmihalyi. In a heterogeneous sample of adult workers, Lafayette found that multiple dimensions of subjective experience, such as concentrating, feeling happy, creative, and satisfied, were significantly more positive in high challenge, high skill situation at both work and leisure. More time was spent in high challenge, high skill situations at work than at leisure, whereas the opposite was true of time spent in low challenge, low skill situations. Many techniques are employed to study and assess flow. They are as follows. Interview. The flow concept emerged out of qualitative interviews about the nature of the experience when a particular activity is going well. The semi-structured interview provides a holistic, emic account of the flow experience in real-life context. Questionnaire. Paper and pencil measures have also been used to measure dimensions of the flow experience and/or differences in its occurrence across contexts or individuals, like the flow questionnaire, Csikszentmihalyi and Csikszentmihalyi. A more traditional paper and pencil measure was utilized by Csikszentmihalyi, Ronde and Whelan. They defined autotelic personality as the conjunction of receptive and active qualities measured by the Jackson PRF factors of sentience and understanding, and the other by achievement and endurance, Jackson. The experience sampling method. Subjects are given pagers, programmable watches, or handheld computers which signal them at pre-programmed times to complete a questionnaire describing the moment at which they were paged. Usually, the time spent in flow has been the most widely used measure of the general propensity towards flow. The relevance of the flow concept has been found in many applied settings such as the Montessori schools, CAN, and occupational therapy, Emerson, Ribeiro, and Polgar. Two types of interventions made in terms of flow can be distinguished. A. Those seeking to shape activity structures and environments so that they foster flow or obstruct it less, and B. Those attempting to assist individuals in finding flow. Educational settings are one of the most important areas for applying the results of flow research. One such important experiment is the 13-year-old Key School in Indianapolis, where the goal is to foster flow by influencing both environment and individual. Whelan. The most direct efforts to assist individuals in finding flow lie in the sphere of psychotherapy. With the help of ESM, personalized interventions can be made with non-clinical population, creating flow in relationships with our children. Certain types of families have been found in a study by Rotten to promote the experience of flow. Adolescents in families characterized by optimal levels of clarity, centering choice, commitment, and challenge reported more frequent flow experiences. How to create flow in physical activities. Flow in physical activities can be developed in the following way: setting an overall goal and breaking this down into a number of sub-goals, deciding on a way of measuring progress towards the goals that one has chosen, concentrating on doing the activity as well as noting how one is achieving sub goals, gradually increasing the difficulty of the sub goals so that the challenge matches the level of the growing skill. In the future, flow research can be undertaken in the following areas: autotelic personality, attentional processes, and meaningful goals. Research may be conducted on the attentional processes and meaningful goals involved in the task at hand. Forms of flow. No research has addressed the category of microflow activities, Csikszentmihalyi. Fewer studies have identified forms of what might be called shared flow, Csikszentmihalyi and Larson. Hence, these areas can be undertaken for future research on flow.
Number one, from the perspective of flow, a good life is one that is characterized by complete absorption in what one does. Number two, a state of flow is characterized by intense and focused concentration on what one is doing in the present moment. Merging of action and awareness, loss of reflective self consciousness, a sense that one has controlled one's action. Distortion of temporal experiences, experience of the activity as intrinsically rewarding, challenging activities that requires skill, etc. According to psychologists, to understand flow experiences, we need to understand it through consciousness and the self. Number 4, psychologist talks about autotelic personality, a person who tends to enjoy life or generally does things for their own sake rather than in order to achieve some latter external goals. Fifth, intrinsically motivated individuals show more interest and excitement and confidence in the task at hand and also show enhanced performance, persistence, and creativity concerning these tasks. 6. Sometimes we oscillate between being intrinsically motivated and extrinsically motivated doing the same activity. 7. The flow state has been studied in many domains like art and science, aesthetic experience, sports, literacy, literary writing, and other activities. 8th, many techniques are employed to study and assess flow, such as interview, questionnaire, experience sampling method, etc. 9. Two types of interventions made in terms of flow can be distinguished. A. Those seeking to shape activity, structures, and environments so that they foster flow or obstruct it less. And B. Those attempting to assist individuals in finding flow.